All right, welcome back to Blue by 90, presented by Feldman Chevrolet of Highland. It's October 20th, and Michigan came off a huge win over Washington to get back on track here. Tanner, we talked about it this past week about how much of a must-win game this game all of a sudden turned into after the USC lost, and tons of negativity coming from the Michigan fan base. And even actually Sharon Moore talked about like there was some negativity inside the locker room as well. And, it sounded like they had some like come to Jesus type meetings about who's going to be in and who's going to be out on this team. And so I think for this program, this was just a huge statement win. And it was the way that they won it in the second half for me. I think that after this season, even in a lot of the wins, Michigan just played so poorly in the second half, coming out, not being able to step on throats and finish games, or just, even in the USC game, like you're getting absolutely dominated in the second half, right? And so Michigan actually flipped that on its head, dominated in its own right. So happy to be 1-0 this week, coming off of, the loss to USC. And it feels like this roller coaster of a season is now back to the top where everyone's happy again.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say, and me especially, I was pretty down after last week's performance. We're talking about what does it mean for the program and on a grander scale. But I was critical of Sharon. Like we talked about it with Worm. But on other shows that we do, I talked about the blue collar shirt and I thought it was corny and but they went out and it was very workmanlike.
It was,
right. And we talked about like having those coming to Jesus, like difficult conversation, difficult meetings, kind of looking in the mirror, being introspective. And I think that probably happened because the way they came out, it was very workmanlike. To your point about who wants to be here, who doesn't, I do wonder, like, was there was a lot of guys that were out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if what obviously there's injuries there, or like with Rod Moore, there's a snap count, but it's like, hey, if you're not, participating in at least 2 or 3 practices this week, you're not playing. Like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but a lot of energy from the team. Like we talked about, you kind of had to bring your own juice because the big house was sleepy. Like we predicted. It was a little in the beginning. It was a little like, and then they got going. Sharon. Did you see Sharon?
Sharon was right in front of us, like pre-game, getting people going. Like it was nuts. So I love that. I also think, like, I don't know if you saw the Jack Tuttle thing where he, kind of called out Michigan's locker room on whatever
Moore's response,
and then
that he deleted.
Yeah, so like I think that sometimes that gives guys some juice, and for people that didn't see it, Jack Tuttle basically was just like, it seems like there's a lot of finger pointing going on inside the locker room, which he said happened a lot last year as well. So I think he was, I don't know that he was trying to be malicious with what he was saying, although how a clip finds the internet and then all of a sudden everyone runs with it, but to what you were going to say is Rod Moore came out and tweeted something about that clip, deleted it immediately, all that stuff. But I did, like, overall, the response was great. This team, it looked like after last week could just cash it in. It just didn't feel like they were playing for each other. It didn't feel like they had that juice. And with a sleepy noon game, this was one of those that could totally get away from you if you're not prepared for it. They came out prepared, so I was pumped about it.
Yeah, man. I thought defensively they were more vanilla. They didn't blitz as much. I think I saw that in the USC game they blitzed 50% of the time. In this game, the blitz rate was 20%. So, forcing a quarterback to drive the field. College quarterbacks, they make mistakes. And we saw DeMond Williams made a couple. The last interception was not nearly at all his fault.
No.
Craziest pick I've maybe ever seen in the big house. In terms of just like pure like probability of that happening.
Literally that is the definition of falling into his lap.
Yeah. But, I think Wink again, so we had this conversation last week, and like at the end of last year, they made adjustments to basically just be very vanilla and run their base defense, right? In those games against Ohio State, Alabama, even Indiana. I mean, they held Indiana to 20 points last year. That was a really good defensive performance against an IU team that was killing everybody, just like they're this year. Yeah. And then it seems like at the start of this year, it was like back to what he fell in love with in the NFL, just blitzing. And then it's kind of reverting back to that. So in the grand scheme of things, look, to win, get 7 points. Defense played really, really well. Hate that they seem to really – I think I tweeted it. That was the fourth time in 7 games that they gave up a touchdown within a minute left in the second half. So those things need to be cleaned up. But they gave 7 points to Washington at one point, was averaging 60,
Even last week, I know Rutgers is not like the top of the Big Ten, but they scored 38 on Rutgers last week, and Devon Williams had 500 yards. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, so they really played well defensively. I think Derek Moore. We'll talk about the PFF stuff on the other show that I do with our friend BB's Big House, but I think again, snap count was low. Like, that's one of my biggest criticisms, aside from the scheme stuff, is just the rotation of guys. Yeah. Like, I want to see Derek Moore out there. I want to see Jayshon Barham out there. I want to see TJ Guy out there. Like, and those are 3 edges, and there's typically 2 edges on the field. But, like, I think you would still do some things with Jayshon in a linebacker-type hybrid role that allows your best edges to be on the field. But at the same time, like, Cameron Brandt played really well. Obviously, you want to get Nate Marshall out there to have him continue to develop, because he's a high ceiling prospect, right? Like, he's a guy that's going to be a game wrecker in the near future. So, but yeah, overall defensively, I was really encouraged. Bryce, like, it's on the header here. I think his best game at Michigan, right? Like, 21-27, 3 drops. Like,
I mean, he was incredibly efficient. And I know you want to know what's funny is, before the season, what were we talking about? We're like, oh, he's a freshman. He's going to make all these mistakes, and it's going to be like this roller coaster thing where he has unbelievable plays and then, throws a crazy pick the next play. We haven't seen that. Even when he's played poorly, he's still taken care of the ball. And I'm incredibly impressed by Bryce Underwood, just being super efficient, taking care of the ball, no like forcing the ball really. And yeah, I thought that, like, as bad as the game plan was versus USC for Chip Lindsey, I thought that was as good of a game plan versus Washington, because they had Bryce throwing all over the place. It felt like they got everybody involved. Everything was working. So we're 7 games into his career at 18 years old. I'm loving where Bryce Underwood is at, for not only right now, but for the future too.
Well, I didn't necessarily think Chip's game plan against USC was horrible. I think they had some execution issues with it. They had in this game too, right? Because if you look at the drive chart, first drive, Bryce misses wide. I don't know if that was a slant. I rewatched the game yesterday on Sunday. I need to go back and check it out again. But he misses wide on the first play. You run it. I think it's like third and 8, and then check down to Tonelli. But after that, they go 9 plays, 47 yards. Should have been 9 plays, 77 yards. That would have been a touchdown if Samaj catches that. If you want to complain about the fact that, maybe you have another receiver running that route, so be it. But it was a great call. Would have been a touchdown if you caught the ball.
Can I say one thing on that is, yes, he's got to catch the ball. It was a little bit behind him, but like a hair behind him. But you're a college NCAA Division I wide receiver, you need to catch that football.
Yeah, like Bryce's high school receiver. Like, Bryce threw for like 75% in high school. Like, so those guys caught it most of the time. And they're not on scholarship. Most of them aren't on scholarship to play football at Michigan. And the one teammate that is in the defensive backfield, right? So, like, I don't know what needs to happen there. I noticed that though, Justin, like the commentators, like, they're always like, he needs to take some off of it. And then you'll see a throw to a tight end and it's the same speed and they catch it. And it's like, I just think I don't know what
I will say this. There's one, I believe it was to Deacon Tonelli on a little like crosser out route type thing. and he fired that thing.
That was
And
Zach Marshall. Yeah, and it was
Marshall,
just off his fingertips. That wasn't a drop. That was
no.
definitely
That Deacon Tonelli caught it.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking about a different one. There was a drop that wasn't necessarily a drop. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was going to say it was to your point though. Like I thought honestly, Bryce threw it a little too hard for my liking, and Tonelli caught it and turned upfield right away. And I was like, okay, well, it's not. Listen, this is the big boy ball.
Yeah.
You got to catch the football. Be ready. Listen, you're not gonna have the perfect pass every time. Like you look at the guy. If you come to Michigan, you should be planning on playing in the NFL on Sundays, right? This is what's going to happen in the NFL.
Yeah.
You have to make extremely difficult catches that are not right in your breadbasket all the time.
Well, and in the NFL, they know how to layer the football, but also, especially when you have the margin of error that you have to get the ball there. That's what, the commentators, when they're like, he's got to take some off of it. And it's like, no, I want the ball out there quickly.
Yes.
Yes, you don't want to just fire it in there as hard as possible. Sometimes that's what's necessary for it to be completed. And if it's if it's deflected or whatever, it's a less of a chance of getting intercepted. Like if you lob it in there, maybe it's an easier pick for the defense. So, I've noticed that, I don't know, man. I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast last night, and before I went to bed, and I wanted to listen to what they said about Michigan. They said the same things about Bryce, and I'm like, I don't know where this narrative comes from that he just can't layer the ball. He had multiple throws in this game that were just beautiful. The first one in the first quarter to Tonelli that he has to get to, and I mean, but it's perfectly thrown. And then he has to bring the ball back and it gets dislodged for an incompletion. But that is a big time throw. Yeah. He has a throw in the fourth quarter to Tonelli, up 14-7, game's still in balance, right? It's still anybody's game on a 3rd and long, right after he took an ill-advised sack running out of bounds, off his back foot, makes a throw. So I don't know where this narrative comes from that he is just super inaccurate and just throws it in there because his completion percentage is maybe around 60% right now. But
it's people that don't watch the actual games. I'm not throwing shade at Cover 3 specifically or whatever, because I actually think that they're really good. But I think it's, for the most part, the people that are talking about that are just looking at the box score, seeing that he, they see at USC that he was 9 of whatever, right? Or, and they see that he's not at a 70% completion percentage or whatever like that, where, to your point, that deep ball that he threw off his back foot and squeezed it in there perfectly. I was like, holy shit, that was an unreal throw.
Yeah, and he had some throws in this game that were, I mean, pretty phenomenal, right? But then he also has some throws where it's hey, that touchdown to Zach Marshall late in the game, he just lobs it in there. So the idea that he doesn't know how to take speed off the ball is just stupid. By the way, Cover 3, Tom Fornelli, I don't think he actually watches the game sometimes, because he said Michigan got they put up over 400 yards, but they got most of it late in the game. And I was like, well, that's not true. They had a lot of yards. They just converted to points, right? So that's kind of been my point on the talking through the drive. So they had that 7-play, 80-yard drive, ends in the Marsh screen for a touchdown. That, I think Bryce was 5 of 5 for 68 yards on that drive. That is what, coming into this, what you wanted to see, at certain points. You're not going to do that every drive, right? That's just, football's hard. It's a difficult sport. Really talented players all over the field for every team you play. But that was what you kind of wanted to see. But then again, 11 plays, 63 yards, missed field goal, end of half. And then to come out, they force 3 and out, and they go 10 plays, 55 yards, and they don't get the fourth and 2, which I thought was a solid play call. It was blocked well, but Washington just fit it really well. They had 2 guys coming down where Marshall was going to run. But then they finally, they started to move the ball. I mean, they had the interception by Sullivan that led to a 1-play touchdown, but then they had the 9-play, 62 yards for a touchdown. And then at the end of the game, they were able to run out the clock for 4 minutes, 4-minute drill. Marshall, we talked about Bryce, Jordan Marshall, his best game as well at Michigan. Yeah. I mean, does he not look you took that 3 off the jersey and he was 3 inches shorter? Does it not look a little Blake Coramy in a way?
It does. It's shifty. It's little bouncy, those types of things.
Driving the legs, backwards, still moving the pile.
Yes.
He's not And he had a lot. It was a 14-yard run, but that touchdown, I thought he had a nice burst to get through. It was a great play design, kind of the wrinkle off of what they do in the run game with Bredesen crashing down on a trap play, and he's able to break a tackle, an arm tackle, and show some burst. But in the same way that, Corum could still scoot, and I don't know how quick he is because we haven't really seen it other than the Nebraska game where he had that long touchdown. But man, it just, and I think I had some issues with his vision last week on seeing cutback lanes. I thought it was better this week. Thought he made the right decision, when to cut, when to follow the play design. So, and this Joel Klatt said it, and I agree. This was the boa constrictor game. Like we've seen this a couple times for Michigan this year, where look, it's not as dominant as it was in 22, 23. But there are moments that you see it, and it's like in the fourth quarter when they need to have it, they're just running the ball, and they're running it down their throat, and they can't stop it. Like, did Jordan Marshall go down on the first tackle attempt on any run this game? If he did, it was only a couple times.
It did not feel like it. If sometimes it was third or fourth try,
Yeah, and he's getting 8 yards, and you're like, oh, it's 2nd and 2. Yeah. Like that's the recipe for Michigan. And then when you have an elite quarterback, which Bryce isn't there yet, but when you have a guy that can make all the throws, that is athletic, that can, is just a shot in the arm to the offense. Because this offense last year was horrible. Yeah. And we're sitting here talking about 24 points, 420 yards. And it's like, oh, man, they left some meat on the bone. Last year would have killed for that.
Yeah, I 100% would have killed for that. And I feel like, 24 points does feel like it's not a dominating offensive performance, but it did feel like that on Saturday, at least in the second half, right? I felt like that. So, especially when you're looking at what the offense looked like a week ago, right, where it was just swallowed shut. And so I was excited to see this bounce back game for the offense. Let's talk about the defense for a second too, because Wink Martindale needed this really badly because last week it was not good, right? And so for him, where I'm looking at like this Washington offense, Jed Fish is a phenomenal offensive mind. There's no doubt about that. I really like Jed. I think that he's going to continue to be a great head coach. I mean, Damon Williams is very good. So for Wink Martindale to come out there and have, put on the game that they put on, Washington had 46 yards total in the second half. It was 7-7 at halftime. And then this defense went crazy. And obviously the turnovers and interceptions helped that a ton, but I just felt like there was never a moment where Damon Williams was like in control of the game. I felt like he looked almost like, a Dylan Raiola back in that Nebraska game for Michigan, where it was like he was all out of sorts. So, in a 7-7 game, this defense went into the locker room at halftime, came out and put on a hell of a show.
Yeah. They're flying to the ball. Ernest Hausmann had a great play. Was that in the first half or the second half where he tracked down Williams on a designed run? I think it might have been the first half, but yeah, either way, these guys played phenomenal. Their drives in the second half go 3 plays, 2 yards punt, 10 plays, 27 yards punt, 1 play interception, 3 plays interception, 4 plays turnover on downs, forced fumble from Derek Moore, and 1 play interception. In the fourth quarter alone, they had -8 yards.
Yeah.
Michigan had 110. You know what that fourth quarter box score reminded me of, Justin?
What's that?
It was Columbus last year. Dominated the fourth quarter to win the game. Obviously, different scenario here. But, man, those drives in the second half, Michigan just put the clamps on them. And, again, I thought Derek Moore, maybe his best game of the year, 2 sacks, forced fumble. Trying to block him with a tight end is certainly a choice that one can make. Not the choice that I would make, to be honest.
Agreed.
Trey Pierce had a huge play right before that fourth down on a 3rd and 1 to push it back to 4th and 3 on a TFL. I need to see more Trey Pierce. I know he didn't play as much in this game. I think he might be the best defensive tackle on the team. Benny got banged up a little bit, so hopefully he's healthy. I thought he had a solid game. Linebackers obviously making the plays in the pass game with the 2 interceptions from Rolder and Sullivan. Hausman was all over the place. I thought Barham was really good in the run game after, the first drive when they went down to miss the field goal, and then he kind of cleaned it up a little bit. There was another moment. Dude tweeted this, and I know a lot of people saw it, but he on the 4th and 1 that they converted, in the third or fourth quarter, Barham has a chance to kind of squeeze and make the play on the 4th and 1, and he just sucks in, and the running back just goes where he wasn't. And so those are continuing to learn things playing edge that Barham's got to go through. But yeah, man, I mean, I thought Zeke Berry had a pretty good game. The tackling was much improved.
There were no issues with tackling all of a sudden. It was like,
do you think they practiced it this week, Justin? I bet they did.
I think that they did. It sounded, I actually heard a couple things of them. They did go live, I think, a lot this week and did some live tackling drills, because I think that it was like, hey guys, we cannot be this soft anymore. So love to see that. Well,
yeah, I mean, dude, and everyone, I think every Michigan podcast has made this point. We've probably talked about it too, but like in the NFL, you don't really need to teach guys how to tackle, right? Like they're in the National Football League,
right?
They're the top percent of people who play football. So, you know, you probably don't have to practice that as much. In college, these guys are coming out of high school. They probably need to be coached up a little bit. So making that a point of emphasis, I'm sure was a big thing this week. And also the screen game. Washington had a little bit of success, and then Michigan kind of shut them down.
Yeah.
So that was something that got Michigan against USC last week. And I thought that they came out, man, and they just, again, it was spirited. The sideline was lively. Guys on the field were making plays. They were pumping up the crowd. Again, dude, it was let me just say this. I was in section 16. Shout out to the homie Nolan for the free tickets. I appreciate that. They were beautiful seats. Phenomenal view, right in the corner. I love being in the corner. I prefer it to even being in the 50. I know that's right around where you sit, but I like the corner for some reason.
The corner's nice.
But it's third down. Like the game may have been tied or up 7. I look back. I know. I look back and I'm like, these people are on their phones. Like there's like 12 seconds on the play clock. They're about to snap the ball. I'm over here like my guy on YouTube, the weatherman, like screaming. Like I'm trying to get him, you know what I mean? I'm trying to cause a false start. And the stadium got a couple of them. Washington got a couple false starts, but again, I thought they did exactly what we kind of said. Like they needed to bring their own energy, bring their own juice, and they were ready to go, man. And I was really impressed by, how Sharon's able to kind of get his guys motivated. And he's a player's coach, but sometimes you got to be a dickhead. And I bet that was this week.
I do think that they put the pressure on the boys this week of like, who's going to step up to the plate. Who's going to be a leader? That's what we talked about a lot last week of just like, we need internally guys, we need guys to just step up and be that leader. And it sounds like they found a couple. So I here's my thing though. You got to do it week to week to week. Right. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not this guy that's going to be negative after a win like that. I'm very excited about what we saw. But even Pat McAfee talked about it on game day of just like Michigan season going up and down and up and down. And it's like right now, you are headed to Sparty this week and you better, I mean, first of all, if you can't get up for that game, then we got bigger problems. But I want to see this team put it together for a couple weeks in a row against quality opponents. And, I thought that at least on Saturday, it looked like they put it together for 4 quarters in a row, which is a good start. Right. But man, I just like, that's right now what is keeping this team from being a playoff squad, right? A playoff contender, because they really like, this is what I'm looking for. And you have a chance because really, you're going to be favored in the rest of the games along the way until the Buckeyes come to town. Right. Yeah. And so, but this week is a hell of a test. This is something I know Michigan State is not in a good spot with their program right now. It's almost like more like worrisome though, because they have literally nothing to lose. They're fighting for their lives. And I mean, maybe the coach has something to lose, like his job possibly, depending on how this goes.
He gets paid a ton of money to not work. Again, I would take that deal if someone offered it to me. Someone come to me with a bag and it'll be fine.
I'm with you. I don't know. I mean, what's your expectation though for this weekend? Going into what's now it's a night game, right? You got 2 night games in a row actually with MSU in East Lansing and then at home against Purdue.
Which everyone's pissed off about, but we're excited because we don't have to get up at 6 a.m. to set up the tailgate.
It cracks me up because everyone, like all the beat writers on Twitter are just like, no. I'm like,
I'm gonna be up till 2 a.m. It's like, well, I'd rather do that.
I mean, I'll be honest. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning on Saturday to get to the tailgate. So, I'm not too mad about
it, man. Hey, we won it.
Listen,
we get after it.
My dad said it to me. He said as we were heading into the game, he said, "You know what? You won again. The tailgate's undefeated. Tailgate is still undefeated." So
your dad's the best hype man. I need to call him before I go to get up and get to work in the morning and just have him just jack me up a little bit, just amped up.
Shout out Woodson Whiskey, by the way.
Yes, that helps too, I think. I don't know if there's any caffeine in their products, but it feels like it. You just feel a little different after one of those. Yeah, man, I think look, Michigan State this year, do you want to hear the points against? And I'm not sure how many of these, because I know Nebraska blocked a punt, and so I don't know exactly how many of these are on the defense, but just to give you an idea. Give up 6 against Western Michigan, okay? Give up 40 to Boston College. Boston College team that is absolutely horrible. Has benched their quarterback. They're in shambles. Give up 24 to Youngstown State. Give up 45 to USC. Can't say much about that there from our angle. Yeah. Give up 38 to Nebraska. Again, 7 of those were a blocked punt. Gave up 38 to UCLA and 38 to Indiana. Now, there's some good teams in there, but this defense is not good. No. And so they also don't have the offense that USC has, right? No. So you're probably gonna have more opportunities. I think where the USC game, because we said that about USC's defense, it's not very good. It's really not. But Michigan just gave up such long drives, like they didn't get a chance to really possess the ball. In this Washington game, they had the ball 37-22 or something like that, so they held it almost 67% of the time. So in this game, I'm looking for Michigan to be able to move the ball, finish drives. Here's the thing, Justin. You talk about inconsistency. You know what freshmen do typically? Like the really talented freshmen, they flash. And you're like, wow, that guy's going to be pretty good. But then they make stupid mistakes, right? There's a lot of freshmen playing on this team. There's a lot of inconsistency. So I think that might be baked into this team a little bit. To your point, though, the next 4 games, Michigan should be 9-2 going into the game. They should be 9-2 with a Big Ten championship berth on the line. Because if they win that, I think the only other undefeated team in the Big Ten is Indiana. Correct. So if you go and you win your next 5 games, you should be going to Indianapolis. That would be electric, by the way. The Hoosiers, man, they like to party. That would be better than any of the other ones we've been to in the last few years.
We'd be at Clayton's Country Bar with a big. He might. I mean, he's an IU guy too. So what? Clayton would be torn. So
hey, man. Yeah, he's got the Blue by 90 stuff. He can wear that. Nobody, they don't have to.
Exactly.
It's not official Michigan gear. But yeah, I think, this is obviously a big game. You talk about having nothing to lose. I do wonder, like in 23, we saw, so in 22, we saw what happened after the game in the tunnel. In 23, we saw Braden McGregor, guy tried to spear his neck back in his head
while he was laying on the ground.
That's crazy. And then last year, the stuff on like the kneel downs.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that, I hope there aren't any MSU fans that listen to this because there's just got to be better things to do with your day and your time. There's always, it's so funny because they always say Michigan fans have like a victim complex, but like they tried to turn the tunnel thing into like, oh, Spartans against the world. And it's like, oh, by the way, that Kerry Crump dude like pushed a ref, was like trying to fight a ref this past game weekend.
It turns out he's like not a good person.
Yeah. Trying to dive at somebody's the back of their head and neck, not good. And then last year, like whatever, like I thought it was just a stupid little scuffle. People blew it up into something that it wasn't. But like, I just wonder, has Jonathan Smith's coach shut out of the program, or is that still going to be something that can happen? Because I always get weary of this stuff, and it's been going on for 15, 20 years. Like Taylor Wan getting his head, like his helmet ripped off. Twisted sideways.
Let's be honest. Taylor did a few things of his own. So
for sure. But like just the way things happen in this game over the years, there's always something. So what does that look like this Saturday? You got to keep your cool, right? That's where I'm going with this. Like you got to play through it, play to the whistle, Get back to your huddles. Like, that's what you have to do if you're on offense, if you're on defense. Special teams, no stupid penalties. There's a lot of trash talking in special teams nowadays, which I find always hilarious. Like pitches it, they're just like jawing, going back. Like, they're like 40 yards away, like 10 yards from each other's sideline, just yelling at each other.
Yes.
Don't get any dumb penalties, right? Like, you gotta be level-headed in this game, is my point.
Yeah, and actually Sharon talked about that in his press conference today about that's the goal of them. I think Gio Al-Hadi also said it, of being like, hey, this is any energy that you're putting towards the trash talk and the extracurriculars is energy that you're taking away from the actual game. Right. And so I think that this is honestly for both teams, because I don't think Michigan is innocent of like all of this. Right. I know you're talking about the victim complex and all that type of stuff. Like,
well, you can't skip up a tunnel, Justin. My God.
There are obviously some things that are absolutely egregious, but I think that both teams are guilty of of doing the things that have brought this rivalry to where it's at right now. And so, honestly, I'm really hoping that Sherrone Moore and our team knows that they're the better team and just goes and lets their play do the talking. Like, that is, for the most part, in 2023, what happened, right? And that was what I was like, that's what I loved. Obviously, that was literally the best team in the nation playing a JV high school football team that year.
It was a fun game, by the way.
What's that?
That was a great game.
I had a
scoring with 8 seconds left.
I had
with it being all Michigan fans left in the lower bowl, just moving down,
singing and dancing all over. It was so good.
Great time.
I'm hoping for the same. I don't think obviously our team is as good as that 23 team, but you never know. So I think, but honestly, what I'd love to see is just like, hey, let's go kick their ass in between the whistles and let's let them do the bullshit. Right. And then like, that's where, going back to it in 2023, that's where Michigan was so good, is they weren't stupid. They let other teams do the stupid shit. And then you benefit from it when you get 15-yard penalties. And so like, if I was Sherrone Moore, that is what I would be telling my guys this week is like, hey, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot and get 15-yard penalties. Let's make them do that, and we'll beat them that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this Michigan team against this Michigan State team, the talent levels are not close. Like, no. I saw people who were like on the MSU side who were complaining about the spread being so high. I saw Michigan fans. It was Michigan podcast. It was Steve Dace. I mean, he's just the most negative Michigan fan I've ever seen, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But like, he was like, oh, the spread's too high, and it's like 12.5. And I'm like, I'm seeing memes from MSU of like, the YouTube video of two idiots fighting, and it's Michigan State. I'm like, have I watched the same football season? Like, yeah, Michigan's had a couple tough games on the road against really good teams, but you're not in that class. We're not the same.
No.
This should be a game that Michigan's able to go out and win by 3 scores, in my opinion.
Yes.
You got to come correct. I don't know what the split's going to look like Saturday night. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Michigan fans. In 2023, it was kind of the same situation. Obviously, Michigan was undefeated, number 2 in the country at that point. That's not this Michigan team, but MSU was on a downswing. They had an interim coach at that point. We're very much looking forward to hiring Jonathan Smith from Oregon State, which has really worked out well for them. So this team, I think if they continue on the path that they've been on, since the USC game, which has only been a week, but if they just continue to work, improve on the things that are kind of costing them in big situations, work on, that deep, again, Childs is a really athletic quarterback. Same thing with Damon Williams. Like,
yeah.
Make him make mistakes, because guess what? He's going to.
Yes.
He's gonna.
Actually, he is known for that.
Yeah. I still go back to that guy who tweeted, I think it was the chief of propaganda for MSU, of him being in certain award conversations. Like, what awards? Which ones? Name them. Because I watch these teams and I'm like, they're not on the same level.
I mean, the difference listen, Michigan has looked poor, looked really bad in their 2 losses. Let's be honest with it. But those are on the road to top 15 teams, right? Like that's where we're at. And meanwhile, that is not the same as losing at home on your homecoming to UCLA, who had gotten their first win the week prior. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that they're this new, rejuvenated team. But those are not the same. And to be honest, I thought the Indiana game was going to be a lot worse than it was. I thought they were going to score 60 points. I think that Cignetti and Indiana literally just like we're like, all right, let's score our 38. They're not going to score more than 15 points on us. Let's get out of here and move on to the next week. So that's what that game felt like to me. I mean, this is talk about like again where the trajectory of your program for Sherrone Moore is like he has done a very good job of beating his rivals, right? There's no doubt, and you can keep your fan base by doing that. There's no doubt about that, right? So I would love for him to get up for this game and them to just go put a pounding on MSU.
Well, yeah, and to your point, too, if anybody wants to argue, because, yes, they're not ranked that way in the AP poll, but Oklahoma's 5th on SP+, which is one of the best algorithms in terms of just predictive rankings out there from Bill Connolly, who's at ESPN. It's not the FPI. I always feel like I have to emphasize that. So Oklahoma's 5th. With that rating system, and USC is 16th. So Michigan sits at 21st. They just beat number 23 Washington. They beat number 26 Nebraska. Trying to see who else I can see here, but Michigan State is 77th, one spot below Purdue in that rating system.
Yikes!
So there's a big difference between these teams. I think a 12.5 point spread is a little generous towards the Spartans. You get 3 points for being at home, so I guess I get it. But again, I wonder what this game looks like in terms of the crowd split. We have a lot of Michigan fans making that drive up. Maybe some folks selling off their tickets, coming off back-to-back 13 losses.
Yeah.
Like they want him gone. They want him to go back to Oregon State where he came from. So I just feel like this is a game that, if Michigan is the team that I think they can be and have shown throughout moments, right, that inconsistency piece, I think this is a game they go and win 38-13 or 38-10. Like this should be a game where they can go have success on the ground. Hopefully Haynes is back from injury. Marshall, I think Seth on the MGO podcast I was listening to earlier made the joke about the wear and tear system in college football games. Like, Jordan Marshall should be a little banged up. He might be a little yellow, a little orange on his body on the game. He needs a little bit of rest because he 23 carries. But again, how many tackles did he break, right? So you get Haynes back. Parker got some run. Look, Bryson Cusdalt, nice story. I would much rather see Jasper Parker in there.
Yes, for the future.
He's a scholarship running back, right?
Yeah.
And then guess what? Next year, Savion Hyder. I don't know if you saw. Did you see his stats, by the way?
6 touchdowns
on 12 carries for like 260 yards or something stupid.
Oh my! And the one stiff arm was just nasty.
Not fair. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think this is a game that it'll be interesting to see what their response is. Are they going to try to stack the box and make Bryce beat him? Because I think he can. Like, I think we're getting to a point now. He's halfway through his freshman season. He's got another bye week coming up here in 2 weeks. Like, you get through these games, you continue to grow. Like, it's gonna click later in this year. It's already started to click on some things, right?
It is very much starting to click. I'm not gonna say
fun to watch.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna come out here and be like, yeah, he is, unbelievable. He's a Heisman candidate. Yeah, but man, it is really cool to watch him grow. And I think you just forget that he's literally in his 7th career game in college football.
Can we talk about, like, I mean, when you watch the game, like when you're in the stadium, you get to see a lot more than the TV broadcast shows you, right? So you get to watch like when you watch a game on TV, it's hard not to watch the ball because that's where it's really focused on. But I do try to watch the O-line, try to watch the D-line. In the stadium, I can watch the secondary, I can watch routes develop, I can watch all these different things. But the thing that I noticed most was just how in command he was and how comfortable he looked. He's yelling at everybody to get, into their alignment for whatever formation was called. Like there's just like, and it's different because it was at home versus some of these games on the road. But like, you remember like the Oklahoma game and the Nebraska game, like how it was like 2-1 on the play clock. And now it's like, again, it's at home, so it's different. But I just feel he has more command.
Yes.
He's more confident in just getting his guys lined up right and getting the play call in. Those are things that take time, and he's starting to get it, man. Like, seventh career start.
I know, it's crazy. I think that also, to your point on the feeling and command, he is knowing when to run the football, right? He knows when to pull it and run it. Had a couple where he got caught from behind, whatever, but I felt like, even there were a couple Jordan Marshall runs where the reason that Jordan Marshall was able to make a move was because Bryce played out the play fake, and and it opened up everything. The DN bid on it, and so I just think he's doing everything that you can ask of him right now. There really isn't anything I'm pointing to at the moment that's like, man, he really needs to step that up. And obviously with Andrew Marsh coming into his own, you love to see why am I blanking on Marshall? Why am I blanking on Zach Marshall? I was like, we got too much Marsh going on right now.
Dude, we got Marshall,
and then we're gonna go play
another Marsh next year. We're
gonna go play Marsh this week too. Who
I heard he was friends with Bryce Underwood growing up. Who's to say?
Come on down.
Yeah, it would be him and Marsh and Marsh. Everybody keeps making like attorney at law jokes, which I enjoy. Underwood, Marshall, and Marshall. That's pretty good.
I like that a lot. No, you love to see Zach Marshall as a third tight end come in with Marlon Klein out. Hogan Hansen's still obviously not healthy, which is crazy to me. I don't know what's going on there. But no, I think that it's been a new receiver every single week that has had their kind of like breakout game. And so that's where I love what Bryce Underwood is doing to command the offense, move the ball around. It's not like, hey, we need to force it to this one guy all the time. Right. And so, yeah, man, I'm excited to see this week. I think to your point with MSU, this is a chance to put a nail in the coffin and for Michigan to get another coach fired for the Spartans. I mean, this is like, if you go in and you beat the shit out of them, they are going to be calling for his head, because that is the one thing that Michigan State fans cannot stand, is getting their ass kicked. And last year, you as an MSU fan, you came to the big house, lost to a team that literally couldn't throw the football. And now, I just think there's nothing more, and I don't blame them for this. Like, I would hate it too if Michigan fans just take over their stadium once again for the second time in 2 years. That it's not going to be a good situation. So I love the opportunity that Michigan and Sharon has to go do that.
I mean, it'd be a good situation for me. I would enjoy it. It was a lot of fun in 23. Yeah, man. I mean, they're, I wouldn't even say they're at a crossroads. Like, they're over it. They're done with him. I mean, there's no recruiting juice. There's guys decommitting left and right. There's guys taking visits. Like, that fan base. And look, I feel for him, because that's not a fun place to be, especially when you care about college football.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a fun headspace. Like, that's, because for a lot of folks, it's a distraction. And there's a lot of really great Michigan State fans. Like, I know you're friends with a lot of them. We went to the tailgates, were awesome in 23. You just get online, and it's just going to be like that anyway. Anytime you have that. So I feel for them for sure. But yeah, this is really an opportunity for Michigan to go in there and have the fans kind of take over and do what you need to do, and get a big rivalry win, man. No matter what the records are, like, throw the records out saying, I think, is so corny, but
it is,
like, no matter what, it still means something.
It's funny because I think Sharon and the players who were in press conferences today, they said every typical rivalry sentence that you could say, right? Like, you throw out the record books. Oh, they're a tough team. Anything can happen in this game, right? It is true. Like, I really do think it's true. Like, you do have to like really be sound, because if I had to guess, listen, after back-to-back weeks where they're, getting beat 38-13, if I had to guess, they've been prepping for this one for a few weeks now, because as much as if they lose this game soundly, they're going to want that coach fired. If he wins this game, that probably earns him another year. So if I was him, I'd be doing everything I could to win this game. So that's where, like, if you're a Michigan fan, it does make you a little bit nervous. So,
here's the thing about Jonathan Smith. He doesn't get the rivalry. Yeah, he doesn't understand.
Unfortunately.
He like, I think sometimes with Michigan, it is, I don't think you always need to hire a Michigan man, right? But like Michigan State did with Mark D'Antonio, for them, you need to hire somebody with hatred in your heart.
Yes.
He ain't got that. He's too nice. I saw him make a comment in a profile piece from the Free Press or somebody, and he tried to talk about like the arrogance of Michigan, and it just came off, like, even in written format. It was just like, what do you don't understand it.
There's unfortunately, he seems like a nice guy, like, which is obviously the problem.
It's not good for them.
It's the problem, but yeah, there's no juice behind what he's doing. Like I haven't really seen this, but I can't imagine a like pregame pump up speech from him gets the guys going really well. You know,
the strength and conditioning coach. You know,
so yeah, so I'm sorry. Say it again.
You got to bring in the strength and conditioning guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Just a psycho.
Yeah, you need that. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like that is one thing that Sharon Moore definitely has is he understands it. He gets fired up. Like it's easy for like you as a football player, football fan to get pumped up, you know, around Sharon Moore, right? And so,
yeah.
And I also think we do still have a lot of guys in this locker room that understand this rivalry and they hate these guys, right? Like, you know, so I'm pumped about it. I mean, it's a state game, right? Like you got to beat the state teams, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. I don't know if they do this still, but from Jim Harbaugh, you beat a state team, you get a steak dinner on Monday. So there's a lot at stake here, no pun intended. But
what about a tent steak?
Oh, maybe we don't
need to bring that.
Maybe we don't do that again.
When Worm brought that up on our podcast, talking about like ways to get motivated, I was like,
it was tough.
Yeah, that's a different Michigan State program. That was, you know, almost a little over 10 years ago. By the way, I got to tell you, we were trying to get out of Ann Arbor or out of the stadium on Saturday. I just drive by Worm and his wife just sitting, you know, that park over by like, I can't remember what that park is called, but like you basically just, if you keep going straight, you'll come out on a stadium. But yeah, he's just sitting there and I'm like, yo, what's up, Worm? I was like, your boy Wink came through and he's like, yeah, I'm about to make a post right now. We just drove off. It was very funny. Just seeing Michigan legend Chris Wormley just sitting there waiting for traffic to dissipate. So
I love it. You want to know, actually, I've got one for you too. We stayed and hung out after the game. And we were just like post-game tailgating in the lot, just like a small group of us. Sharon drives by on his way out of the stadium, rolls the window down, and is like, "Go Blue, let's go!" And he was just like honking his horn. I was like, "Hell yeah, dude, let's go!"
Never say anything negative ever again.
I know. So I mean, listen. I think everyone who it is funny. We talked about winning cures all. Winning absolutely does cure all because right now we've got a literal 180 feeling from what we did last Sunday, Monday. Right?
Yeah, they did a great job of stopping any of that from snowballing because I think where a lot of the negativity was coming from is it was the same story as last year, right? Now, maybe different ways to lose, you know, that if you had Bryce Underwood, like this version of Bryce Underwood on that team, they probably win 10 games last year. Right. But, you know, they lost to Washington and then they turned around and they lost to Illinois. So you go from like, 4-1, feeling pretty good, like still in it, no Big Ten losses, and then you're 4-3. They did a great job of coming back last week, getting after it, shutting out all the noise. And again, like to Sharon's point, I thought it was corny last week, but if it's going to work, do your thing, wear your blue collar shirt, you know,
he did it again.
Looks like a mechanic and
did it again today. Jordan Marshall wore it. Does it help that Jordan Marshall wore it in his post-game press conference? So it's not just like a Sharon manufactured thing.
Well, he also, I mean, again, workman, like his day Saturday was just keep turning the legs, keep moving piles. Like he deserves to wear that damn shirt. You know what I mean?
I mean, he did go shirtless underneath, which I'm sure some of our friends of the podcast enjoyed.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, I'd probably do that if I could. Nobody would, you know what I mean? Like that'd be like if I was a chiseled like college running back, like hell yeah. But
yeah, I would.
I don't have a blue collar shirt either. Do we make blue collar Blue Benatti shirts?
We should. I got, you know, the Wolverine.
Yeah.
I could call him and see if we can make some customs. I think that would be electric if we just got on board with it.
That would just be, dude, we just wear them to every podcast, every tailgate. You show up to Jake Butt and Chris Wormley on Frat Row doing a podcast in your blue collar shirt. Like we just make it a movement.
I think we should. And also, yeah, to your point, if I was a chiseled like college football player, I would probably never have my shirt on. if I'm being totally honest. I would be shirtless as often as possible.
I'd also be at Feldman Chevrolet just buying Corvettes all the time.
I
would have multiple.
I would too. Sounded like they also got our guy Rod Moore hooked up recently too. So shout out Feldman of Highland. I mean, they help the boys out.
Hey,
that's what they do.
That 2500 Silverado, the High Country, that wasn't that bad. 70,000, but it wasn't crazy compared to the Suburban they brought.
For what it was, though, it was like $70K for the biggest truck I've ever seen.
I think the only thing it didn't have was like leather seats, which then I guess you don't get heated seats maybe or whatever, but otherwise it had everything. I mean, It was the short bed version, but dude, go to Feldman, they'll hook you up. Jason's the man, came over, gave Emery, my daughter, some nucks. He was just having a great time. They were making some phenomenal breakfast Sammys Saturday morning.
Jason's wife is unbelievable on the grill. So,
dude, like I saw Justin have one. I was like, hey, let me get one of those. It was electric. It was a great tailgate. Next tailgate, 7:30 kick.
7:30 kick at home. Yeah, man. Listen, I'm not. I would have loved a 3:30 if we're being greedy. If we're being greedy, I would have loved a 3:30 for that one, especially once you get into November. It
might be 75 degrees though.
Yeah, I mean, it is so nice. I couldn't believe how nice it was again on Saturday.
Dude, like it was warm in the beginning of the game, and then the wind, because it was going to start raining, and I don't remember if it did, but it started to just feel amazing.
It was it was a perfect.
It was the greatest weather I think I've ever experienced.
Yes,
it was a little overcast. The sun kind of went away, but it was, and Michigan's just beating the brakes off them in the fourth quarter. Like I ascended. I levitated. It was amazing.
It was amazing. And to your point, like the stadium woke up a little bit in that second half, right? So it was great. I mean, I think if I was getting greedy, I'd love for that. I'd love for both these games at MSU and for Purdue to be 3:30. But you know what? We'll take a night game. It'll be fun. At least you get time. Like I'm going to East Lansing, you're going to East Lansing, right? Like you get time to walk around and see friends, and it's not like, hey, we just started tailgating. Oh, we got to go into the stadium, right? Like that's what's so good about noons.
The amount of time you put in to set up the tailgate for a noon game versus the amount of time you actually get to enjoy it is a lot lower.
Yeah,
like it's like 1-to-1 basically, because it's like. Sometimes like an hour and a half, 2 hours to everything up. I know there's stuff that goes on Friday, but even on Saturday morning, like we're moving the tent 8 times. Like there's a lot going on. And it's like, oh shit, it's 11:30. You got to walk in there. A night game, it's like, dude, it's 2:30. You've had a couple beverages. Maybe you start with the Bloody Marys.
Oh,
and you work your way to the
Woodson
Heisman Old Fashioned. Like you got a lot of options. Maybe the Blue Band 90 beer, which is phenomenal, by the way. Really like the redesign on the recipe there. I think it's a lot better than it was.
I do too.
Not to call her baby
couple
ugly,
Camp Vodka waters that are a little. I had a few. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a few too many of them on Saturday.
They were really good for Flip Cup though.
Great for Flip Cup.
We were
go down
normally
like
not good at
water.
Flip Cup, but we were dominant. They couldn't hang. We're playing the college kids, and like we're like, dude, we're old. You guys should be beating us. They're getting smoked.
I'll tell you what. I did, which I for a noon game I would not recommend it, but on Saturday. I started drinking at about 8 a.m. and my last drink came about 1 a.m. and I was out in Ann Arbor the full day. Sunday morning, my wife and I both looked at each other like, we can't do the all day and the all night anymore. We're way too old for that.
You know what time I went to bed Saturday? 8:30.
Like 8 o'clock.
It was amazing, bro. I was like, had my iPad. I was like, I'm gonna watch this USC Notre Dame game. There's a couple other night games, and brother, I was like. I like almost, sometimes I had the iPad and it falls. It almost hit me in the face. I caught it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to bed. I'll just check the scores when I wake. I woke up at like 2 a.m, checked the scores. It's like, wow, USC lost. I was kind of hoping they would have won, but, the all day, all night, man, the body's just not built for it anymore. It's like the John Elway that I see his press conference when he retired where he's like, I just can't do it anymore physically. And that pains me to say. And it's just like, people our age who are like, me after my prime, I can't drink anymore. Like that's us. We're in
that. Is us 100%. I just, as much as my heart is in it, my body just can't do it
anymore. But like I mean, what time are we gonna start the tailgate? Like 11, 12?
Yeah, probably around noon, something
So,
like that.
11 to 12 to like 7:30, and then I don't need to buy beer in the stadium,
That's
right?
true.
Like that's just a big hassle.
That
Especially if you're in
is
the middle of the row, you're walking in and out, like you're waiting in line, you're missing the game. So like from like 12 to 8, yeah, absolutely doable. And then I'm gonna sleep like a baby when I get home.
That's exactly right.
And by the way, weather for that day as of now says a high of 53. That's the most football weather we've had this year because Saturday was like 76 again.
I will say that's going to get pretty chilly come 7 o'clock at night. So, not that I'm
had to bring multiple outfits.
That's true, multiple outfits for sure. You know what? We've been asking for a little bomber jacket weather all year, so it's here. I love it. So. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later again this week. We're going to try to have some guests on here some more as well.
Big guest on Stadium in Maine.
Big guest
on our show, but Chad Henney will be there. This will be uploaded Monday. They're recording on Monday night. That will be uploaded Tuesday morning. So go check that out. All-time leading passer in Michigan history. Look at us, dude. Look at you.
Who would have thought?
You started. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Chris Wormley coming by our tailgate,
Also,
driving by.
I don't want to glaze him too much, but I do love Worm. Worm's a great dude.
Good vibes guy.
Great vibes guy. Also just like a normal human being, except for he is
massive.
Way bigger than us.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, next time I talk to him, I need to ask him what size shoe he wears. Because I wear a 14, and that's pretty astronomical. And he has a nice kicks game. And I'm like, how do you get those? Those look like a size 16.
Yes. He's a big boy. Big boy. It turns out when you play defensive tackle in the NFL, you have to be a big boy.
Yes. So yes. Sometimes it's just, luck of the draw. Genetics.
Yeah. It was not in the cards for us. All right. For us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.